This time I'd like to make a video about Ralph Rinks' website, so-called bluestarenterprise.com, and his plans practically to recreate the OTC X1 anti-gravitics spacecraft. We will first check out a video depicting this website and information. This is the bluestarenterprise.com, Ralph Rinks' website. Ralph Ring is one of the surviving members of a team of technicians and scientists who worked for legendary inventor OTC Car. Otis Car was a protege of Nikola Tesla. Ralph has made himself available for interviews and appearances to discuss his own experience working on Car's team and the amazing OTC X1 spacecraft. We are living in a sea of energy, Ralph Ring. OTC X1 efforts. Centered to our work with the pods are our effort to recreate the OTC X1 model and then the larger craft. Here are some of the results of our pods. Well, here they already started constructing practically this craft, this anti-gravitics spacecraft, or they tried to recreate actually the OTC X1 model. Well, this is the partial assembly now of the OTC X1, and as you can see, they're trying to rebuild it. They're trying to rebuild this craft in their laboratory. Well, Ralph Ring is apparently a member of the Knights of Malta, Templar Knights. That's why he wears a cross during his interview. And in this website they also quote Victor Schauberger, Nikola Tesla, OTC Car. As you can see in my video, of course, Nikola Tesla and the ether theory, or the ether truth, they base practically themselves on this ether or this technology. Well, what Ralph Ring wants to achieve is a recreation of the OTC X1 from the 1950s that was built practically by OTC Car, a protege of Nikola Tesla. What OTC Car actually did was recreate or rebuild the Tesla, the so-called Tesla device, or Tesla flying machine, based on anti-gravity. I suggest you watch the documentary or the interview, Ralph and Marsha Ring, Anti-Gravity and Conscious Awareness in Ether Technology, to have an insight in this alternative technology or hidden technology. What is really interesting actually in this website is that Ralph Ring depicts the different people who actually worked with him, that he depicts the works of Nikola Tesla, that OTC Car was a protege of Nikola Tesla, and he developed the so-called flying machine that Nikola Tesla already developed during his lifetime, based on this ether theory or ether truth, or ether on this ether theory. You have to watch my video Alex on Nikola Tesla and the ether to understand that there is a sea of energy all around us. Even Ralph Ring says that we're living practically in a sea of energy. And the depiction of Victor Schauberger also, that Victor Schauberger also developed these technologies, that everything is vorticular, that if you want to understand the universe, you have to think of terms of a vibration, the so-called oscillation from a stationary point, frequency, the number of oscillations within a given time frame or second, and amplitude, or the strength or energy on how far this oscillation is going. We are living practically in a sea of energy, and it's also that we can actually theoretically, with these zero-point energy devices, harness this endless sea of energy. That is in the video that I showed you about Vril or She. A man can also use his body to become a conduit for She or Vril energy. That's how practically the Andromeda device from the Imperial Germans, and the Haunobus and the Vrils and these spacecraft that the Imperial Germans built in the 1930s work actually, the Thule tachymeters and all these anti-gravitic devices. At the same time, Ralph Ring is practically a member of the Knights of Malta. That is practically an order that exists to this day and knows about sacred geometry, on how the universe is actually constructed. Patterns that re-emerge in nature over and over again are based practically on sacred geometry. And this ether principle is part of the so-called natural construct that is the universe. And energy is abundant for all mankind actually that is willing to use these positive, constructive technologies that can harness this energy. As a matter of fact, the US shadow government is operating on this principle for its own evil, devilish causes. The TR-3B as an example of a man-made, US shadow government-made special craft that actually implements even anti-gravitics, but another type of technology. And Ralph Ring's websites depict that this team, their assignment was practically to keep the knowledge alive about these anti-gravitic technology. That this knowledge was given on to the next team, even though that the government or the corporations were all trying to suppress these technologies, the knowledge was practically given on. And that's practically their job actually, to keep the knowledge alive, that it is possible to develop these spacecraft actually, that even when the vibration is higher of these spacecraft, due to the magnetic rotation of the field coils, the vibratory frequency rises, and you can actually interact with this object via your thoughts. There's also in Billy Meyers' case, the technology that the Venusian, not the Venusians, that the Pleiadians use, can interact with thoughts. So there is another correlation. There are a different team now based on Nikola Tesla's theories and Ralph Ring. The OTC X1 craft is also based on this technology. And if you analyze all these different cases online and you build up your own view on reality, revisionist history, ET phenomenon, Dr. Stephen Greer, and all these different teams, Billy Meyer, or even Jan van Helsing's books, and even these metaphysical phenomenons, and even visionary prophets or mediums, you have to build it up all according to a piece of your puzzle. You have to build up your view on reality piece by piece and be open to new input. The OTC X1 is a good example. They built this in the 1950s and it flew. Ralph Ring was practically a member of a protege of Nikola Tesla, and they built this craft and he actually flew in it. This was in the 1950s. Imagine where we could be today. They are suppressing all of these technologies, all of these life-saving technologies that could revolutionize the world. We would have energy abundant for all mankind. We would be living in a star-traveling civilization, and everybody would be satisfied. Everybody would have food and clothing, because we would understand the mechanics of vibration, frequency, and energy on how the universe is actually built, and we could tap into this infinite amount of energy that is all around us. But of course, the powers that be, the Zog, the Zionists that rule over us, they don't want this technology to come out. They want us to remain dependent and hence work for them over and over again. Rockefeller said, "I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers." And who funded the first universities in America? It was Rockefeller. We are being indoctrinated in our schools with dogmatic views on reality. That is why the technologies of our cars does not evolve or become better. It stayed the same for approximately 110 years since the car was invented. We're still using the same fuels. Just Google the water car or YouTube it. There are alternative technologies out there that is being suppressed by the massive corporations that want to enslave you, that want to keep you under control. That is, they want to keep you under steady work control. Because if we would have these technologies, we would only have to work 20 hours a week, and for the rest be creative. That is actually what Ralph Ring also says in his interview, that we could have Picassos all around us. That people could then be creative and do what their passion is. Only work what is necessary for our products in a society where we all work for our well-being, but no more, that we not produce goods that we no longer need. If everybody wants a BMW, then we produce all the cars until everybody has a BMW, and then we quit, but then it is no longer special. This society is all about show. Yeah, it keeps you actually in a steady passive mode of depression, because you have not the material wealth as other people have. That is why I am studying at the University of Applied Sciences to get that degree, to get a possible job, that get me a higher income. But if we would already have houses, or if we wouldn't have to pay for our rent, for an apartment, if we would build for our society, build for us. If you are single, you get a one dorm apartment at the age of 16 or 18. If you get a woman and are married, then you get a larger house. And if you get more and more children, you need a larger house, you automatically get a new house. That is how it should be. Today, the wealthy and the elites have so much power and so much money that they virtually rule the world like monarchs, but hidden monarchs. And you cannot even criticize the true elites without being labeled a terrorist or extremist anti-Semite. Well, Ralph Ring, it's a really interesting website. I suggest you watch the interview and check out the website. I already sent in an email. I personally wouldn't mind working with them. Of course, they don't have that much funding because the government and the official institutions globally and the large corporations and the multinationals, who are all controlled by holding cartels. These holding cartels are all financed by the same people who rule over us in the world. They control everything. I would rather study these alternative physics and build on that, and even alternative engineering, than the formal education that is offered at our universities. And even an economy, I would even study economy that is really natural and normal, and not this consumerism type society where we exchange every other year our products for new products to keep the machinations going of production. Our entire world has been optimized to mass produce and to consume, actually. Probably for the evil AT entities that want to harness all of our raw materials or production capacity. You must know that the entire world is built up like boxes. Everybody produces a certain piece of a puzzle. At the end you can construct practically a spacecraft, but everybody who's producing the different parts does not know what they're producing. So theoretically we could be producing for an ET civilization spacecrafts like the TR-3B. So what is our role? We have been optimized, our industries have been optimized for mass production, maximum efficiency, on ore mining actually. I just wanted to make a video practically depicting another team, yet a team from Nikola Tesla, based on his insight and theory and physical insight on how the universe is actually built, and that they actually built technologies on this principle. In the 1920s and the 1930s, the Third Reich, or Germany back then, also built and developed these type of technologies and settled practically inside the Earth, the whole Earth theory, and created a colony called New Swabia in the inner Earth, with its capital city New Berlin. There is an exchange of all these civilizations going on a daily basis. UFO sightings are made globally and by the hundreds every day. So there is an exchange, and you have to build up your view on how many different factions are out there. The Aldebaranic Aryans, the Federation of Light, the Pleiadians, the Greys, the Reptilians, even on the inner Earth races or the inner Earth civilizations, and even the so-called Imperial Germans. There is practically a constant exchange of spacecrafts and material from Earth and beyond, and the inner Earth. And there, even in our society, there are multiple teams, multiple websites, multiple depictions of transmuted transcripts, multiple this, multiple that. There are so many different streams of truth movements online, and you have to analyze each and every bracket. One of the most important that I consider is revisionist history. You have to know the truth about revisionist history to understand who controls the world today. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video. Cheers!